You wait all week for the message that says someone wants to see you. When it arrives, warmth moves through you first. Then the plan becomes real, and another feeling appears: pressure. You wanted closeness from a distance. Up close, the same closeness asks to be answered, seen, and sustained. Stay with that turn, because its real cost appears much later. This moment matters in closeness and protective distance because the next behavior reveals whether the person has gained choice or only delayed the same pressure. Pulling away can look like proof that a person never cared. Sometimes that interpretation is accurate, but sometimes the premise is misleading. The person may want connection and still experience increasing closeness as increasing exposure. Desire moves them forward, while self-protection pulls them back, creating behavior that confuses everyone involved, including the person doing it. Seen from outside, the premise is misleading can look simple. Internally, it changes what contact will cost and what kind of return remains possible. Imagine two doors controlled by separate alarms. One opens toward belonging, being known, welcomed, and important to someone. The other opens toward protection, keeping choice, privacy, and emotional balance. When closeness activates both alarms, moving through either door can make the other one ring. There is no comfortable resting place until the person learns what each alarm is protecting. The useful clue is not the appearance of the behavior, but its function. Does it widen honest options or quietly remove them? From a distance, connection can remain ideal. You can miss someone without negotiating schedules, misunderstandings, needs, or the possibility of disappointing them. Imagination offers closeness without friction. Real contact adds another mind, with its own timing and expectations. The fantasy is not necessarily false, but it is easier to control than a living relationship. That distinction protects both sides from a character judgment and brings attention back to timing, communication, capacity, and the next observable choice. The retreat may begin after a surprisingly good conversation. You shared more than usual. The other person responded warmly. Nothing went wrong. Yet later, you replay what you revealed and feel strangely exposed. Safety during the conversation can be followed by alarm afterward, when the mind realizes how much another person now knows. A healthier version does not erase discomfort. It makes the discomfort specific enough that a person can respond without abandoning either care or self-respect. A caring message can sound like a future responsibility. Now I must answer consistently, stay emotionally available, explain every quiet period, and never disappoint this person. The relationship has not demanded all of that. The mind has converted affection into a contract, then retreats from terms it wrote by itself. The pattern becomes clearer when you watch the aftermath. Greater steadiness suggests recovery, while narrower choices suggest the original alarm is still directing behavior. Perhaps closeness once came with intrusion, criticism, unpredictability, or the loss of private space. Perhaps independence was praised while need was embarrassing. None of this assigns a diagnosis. It simply means the present moment may be interpreted through older predictions, and predictions can feel like facts before they are examined. This is where self-recognition becomes practical. The goal is not a perfect feeling, but one additional honest move that was unavailable a moment earlier. You may be open with one person and guarded with another. That difference is useful information. A listener who allows pauses, accepts correction, and does not use vulnerability as leverage can make closeness feel less expensive. A listener who debates every feeling can make even a small disclosure feel like surrendering control. When the plan is canceled, relief arrives before disappointment. That mixture can produce shame. If you cared, Should you not be sad? But relief may be about the removal of performance, uncertainty, or obligation, not the removal of the person. Affection and immediate capacity are different measurements. After enough distance, longing returns. You remember the warmth and reach out again. The other person responds. Intimacy grows, pressure rises, and retreat follows. Each side reacts to the last movement. Pursuit increases withdrawal. Withdrawal increases pursuit. And both people begin protecting themselves from the pattern instead of meeting each other. From outside, the cycle can feel like being invited into a room and then blamed for entering. The other person may become anxious, angry, or cautious. Their reaction does not prove your need for space is wrong. It shows that unexplained distance transfers uncertainty to someone else. You may interpret their questions as control. They may interpret your silence as rejection. Both stories can intensify before either person names the simpler reality. Closeness activated pressure, and the retreat activated fear. Naming the sequence does not solve it, but it replaces character judgments with observable events. Closeness becomes easier when the other person responds to who you actually are rather than the role they want. Feeling understood, cared for, and appreciated does not remove every alarm, but it gives connection a different texture. You no longer have to choose between being close and being edited. A responsive relationship does not demand immediate access. It can hear, "I need tonight quiet," without turning that sentence into a referendum on love. But responsiveness works in both directions. The person taking space also communicates enough that the other is not left in an indefinite waiting room. Chosen solitude has a beginning, a purpose, and some form of ending. It may restore attention, autonomy, or emotional steadiness. Disappearance has no shared shape. The person outside must guess. The difference is not how many hours pass. It is whether distance remains connected to choice and communication. Learn the earliest sign that closeness is becoming pressure. Tight shoulders, an urge to delay, irritation at ordinary questions, or fantasies of canceling everything. That signal is not in order to leave. It is a request to slow the pace before the only available boundary becomes total retreat. Try language that changes speed without erasing connection. I like where this is going, and I need to move slowly. I want to see you, but I need a quiet evening first. The sentence holds two truths together. It refuses the false choice between complete access and complete absence. Intimacy does not have to arrive through one enormous disclosure or an entire weekend together. A short walk, one honest sentence, a planned call, or a clear request can build contact in tolerable pieces. Repetition teaches more safety than intensity, followed by disappearance. Sometimes, a person retreats to see who will chase them. The pursuit briefly proves importance, but it trains the relationship around uncertainty. If reassurance is needed, ask for it directly when possible. A test creates evidence about panic. A request creates evidence about responsiveness. The urge to leave often peaks when a small misunderstanding appears. Remaining for a simple repair can create new evidence. I meant this, you heard that, and we corrected it. Closeness becomes less frightening when conflict is no longer imagined as an irreversible ending. Not every retreat is a pattern to overcome. Sometimes the pace, expectations, or values truly do not fit. The goal is not to force closeness with everyone. It is to make a decision from clear observation, instead of waiting until pressure makes disappearance feel like the only honest answer. A person can care and still need privacy, slower contact, or nights that belong to nobody else. A relationship can also care and still need reliability. The workable middle is not endless accommodation by one side. It is a rhythm both people can understand and consent to. Closeness does not require being reachable at every moment. A person can be committed and still place the phone away, keep private routines, or answer after thinking. Constant access may imitate intimacy while quietly removing the autonomy that makes voluntary connection possible. After receiving care, you may feel indebted rather than supported. A kind gesture becomes something you must repay perfectly. Ask whether the other person actually created that debt, or whether receiving itself feels dangerous. Gratitude can exist without turning care into a balance sheet. When someone offers attention, try letting the moment remain simple. Say thank you before minimizing, joking, or immediately returning an equal favor. Receiving in manageable amounts teaches that closeness can include generosity without capture, obligation, or loss of self. Connection does not always require intense conversation. Reading nearby, walking, cooking, or working beside someone can offer companionship with less performance. Shared quiet becomes a bridge between isolation and the pressure of continuous disclosure. An open-ended visit may feel more threatening than a longer plan with a clear finish. Agreeing on an ending can make presence easier because the mind does not have to guard the exit. Structure can support spontaneity instead of defeating it. A rapid bond can feel uniquely meaningful because it compresses disclosure, attention, and hope. Yet, intensity can outrun the capacity to integrate what is happening. Slower connection is not weaker connection. It gives behavior time to confirm the promise. Before canceling or going silent, finish one sentence privately. If I stay connected, I fear that. The answer may be judgment, obligation, dependence, conflict, or simply exhaustion. A named fear offers more choices than a vague need to escape. Sometimes you truly prefer less contact. Sometimes you want more, but fear its cost. Both deserve respect, but they lead to different choices. Preference asks for a sustainable rhythm. Fear may ask for safe experiments that update an old prediction. If you feel the urge to withdraw, send a bridge message before language disappears. I care about this, and I am overloaded. I need a pause, not an ending. The message protects the relationship from having to interpret silence as the whole truth. Coming back does not require a perfect explanation. You can say, I pulled away when I felt pressure, and I want to handle that differently. A modest return completed consistently is more trustworthy than a beautiful promise followed by another disappearance. Another person's need does not automatically erase your freedom. You can hear disappointment, offer what is real, and decline what is not. Staying present near someone else's feeling can reduce the urge to escape before any actual demand has been made. Predictability can feel less dramatic than pursuit and reunion, but it makes closeness easier to inhabit. A message when promised, an honest no, and a reliable return gradually replace guessing with knowledge. The relationship becomes a place, not an emergency signal. The real cost was not the quiet evening after the invitation. It was turning every experience of closeness into evidence that escape would soon be necessary. Each retreat protected autonomy for a moment, while making future connection feel more dangerous for both people. Wanting closeness and pulling away are not proof that your feelings are fake. They are evidence of a conflict that needs a better rhythm. Move slowly enough to remain honest. Name the pause before it becomes absence. Return when you said you would. Connection becomes safer when it has room to breathe.